was in poor health. Although she didn't know it at the time, she had a stomach ulcer, a very severe stomach ulcer. It was after she went up the lines to Belgium, to Flanders, to Casualty Clearing Station number 4, that she became iller. And in August 1917, she was at the hospital when it was very severely bombarded and shelled, not just with shrapnel shells, but with gas shells as well. She was also caring for patients who were being brought in with mustard gas on their uniforms, and she was one of the nurses who were stripping these uniforms from the soldiers and caring for the soldiers.
First film, Nurse Helen Fairchild, the documentary about the World War I nurse getting credit. What do you guys think about that?
They had me from that first gorgeous opening shot of the drone rising up above the bridge. And then that turns out to be a framing device for the whole film, and we see at the end the bridge is named after her. Anything to do with the First World War interests me. I was disappointed that in the last decade we didn't get some World War I films. I thought the centenary might bring us some. The interviews were interesting, the music was wonderful, editing, everything I can possibly say they got right. This is a really good documentary film.
Yeah, it's a great little story about, because we always hear about the men and the front lines and all the things, but you never hear about the woman, the woman nurse, and the, the credit that she deserves, and of course, like generations later. I found it interesting that I think she was like 36, 37, that she was writing a letter to her 25-year-old brother, who's at home, and while she's on the front lines, her 25-year-old brother is at home, and she's writing him a letter. I just found that, for me, I found that interesting.
Yeah, on every level, it was just wonderful. And while we really loved the content, the subject matter of the nuns, which was sensational, this didn't. It was a sensational story, but not as sensational as the first one. But imagine taking this filmmaker and having him done the first film. I mean, they had so much less to work with because they didn't even have, they had very little, but they made so much of it with just the letters and the pictures and the music. It was so well done.
I'm going to say that it's really the power of documentary filmmaking to make someone who important, like, by making the film of that person, and which I think was in Canadian cinema was Bethune. It was. By making that film, they made Bethune a hero. And I would say that that's a similar process that was at work here. It was really well done.
I thought this story is incredibly relevant to today. There's so many women in so many different occupations that have not been recognized yet at all. So I think that it goes beyond nursing. But I also, you guys can criticize me if you want, but I also found this kind of boring and a kind of standard documentary film. I guess I've seen a lot of docs, but I thought it could be more creative in how it was done, cinematography, etc., etc.
I thought it was very well done. I don't think you need to break all the rules to have a good documentary. It was standard, it was traditional in some ways. It was still touching and human, and it still really made the point that women, especially, don't always get the credit they should. And those that most sacrifice often don't get the credit. I mean, she wasn't on the front line shooting, but she did every bit as much as anyone else and deserved every bit as much recognition.
The way the film kind of starts off, like, you see this bridge, like as the gentleman the first come, like, and then all of a sudden, it kind of, the movie does a whole 360 and it ends on the bridge, and then we realize, this is her bridge, but also the metaphor of the bridge, like building bridges, like we're moving to the next plateau of our evolution, and this is kind of like a little bit of a small story to tell that story. I thought it was very kind of well accomplished for a 10-minute film. Any other comments to make about this film?